Yes, hello. It's Sunday. Sunday, bloody Sunday. Yep, I love it. I love a Sunday. A small rest from the markets, except from those that are involved in crypto. A couple of interesting observations there, but not too much going on. Not too much going on. Thank you, guys. Welcome and hit the links, hit the like button, grab the free stuff in the mini series, buy a coffee mug because you shouldn't be drinking coffee, and also book a call and a chat if you want to be part of an amazing community that are riding the waves. That I've never felt so alive and excited. This is my time, finally told by their governments in chief, their central banking cartel, and all the others. Yes, welcome. It is Sunday. I am Francis. It is the 29th of March. That's right, the 29th of March. You are officially at the cusp of the end of quarter one of your 2020. How's that 2020 going? 2020 vision? Yes, sir. We saw it coming. We saw it coming. We saw it coming. We said, behold, beware. Beware the 20 to 21. This is the eyes of the storm, indeed. Welcome. 167 of you already. That grew up real quick. I think we almost grew there at a curve that represented the pandemic take-up. You guys are loving me as your new pandemic virus of choice. Yes, indeed. We charged through 188 and 50 likes. That's amazing. How many people have you shared? Did you say the man with the complexion for radio is back on the YouTube live? No one has told him, but he keeps appearing. Have you shared it with one other, a special other that deserves to feel beautiful and well foiled in comparison to myself? Him of the low maintenance haircut that does chastise such from the pulpit. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I've got news for you. There's been developments. There's been developments in a lot of places. So we have here, fine people, a German minister. Yes, that's right. A German state finance minister. This news just in early. He is the finance minister of the German state of Hesse. It sounds like Hesse, Hesse, was found next to a high-speed train track on Saturday morning in the town of Hochheim, between Frankfurt and Mainz, according to. Now, the remains, it sounds like there were pieces. The remains of Schaefer, 54, poor man, and his family especially, were initially unable to be identified due to the extent of the injuries. In short, the man was battered into pieces on a high-speed train that he happened to fall in front of. Due to the extent of the injuries after witnesses reported his body, his death has been very quickly ruled as a suicide by police. A finance minister in a German state has very quickly been ruled a suicide by the police. We can all be, oh, by the way, he is leaving poor wife and a 9-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. Of course, when you have a 9-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter as a family man, the average German is very prone to leave them behind with a tragic end and see how they bat on, you know. Here's this little landmine for you to step on. We'll leave you just with the missus and see how you bat on. Never a thought for just forging on. It's so un-Germanic, one wonders. So un-Germanic. It reminds me of the Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank and other investment bank heads of department that were falling out of windows on high-story buildings as well, around about the 07, 08, 09 period. It's unbelievable, this. It seems economic crises and a whole bunch of people that want to say stuff just end up dying. It's unbelievable. And it's quickly ruled a suicide. It was suicide. We knew his intentions. He wanted it. Here's a note. You want a note? I'll write a note for you. Who knows? No mention of a note. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. So we have the first of the high flyers and the dead cat bouncers. that are throwing themselves from tops of buildings and in front of high-speed trains. It's a tragedy. I don't mean to make light of a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. A loss of a life, a loss of a man who appears to be in government, a loss of a man who's killing himself and was making a lot of coronavirus-related support news financially for people. He was the man bearing gifts and bringing supportive news to the people. I wonder why. This all just turned out too much for him. It's a startling state of affairs, I have to say. Other news, moving on, whilst you all stew on that and come up with your own conclusions. In other news, which, and to be fair, we don't know any more than what we can get from a news article. If you wish to research this further, the name is Schaefer, S-C-H-A-F-E-R. That's right. The name is Schaefer. He was 54-year-old. And it was Thomas Schaefer. So let me just post the name in the live chat. Do some more research. See what you come up with. 54 years old, finance minister of Hesse. There you go. Okay, what else have we got for you? Well, it appears there's been developments. There's been developments down at Comex. Yes, Comex. There's a report that says, just like palladium, and I love these kind of reports for our paper trading long, and I will say to you, the window for actually buying physical may indeed already be closed properly at anything resembling spot price, and the moment where you can actually buy physical at any price will indeed potentially pass too, as part of the larger reset that we are facing. Yes, the breakdown in the precious metals market. So gold and the demand for gold, and of course silver, its little sister, especially after the spiller, it had a little bit of its own version of a rumble in the jungle and took a tumble as the fear hit the fan and many people were liquidating their paper gold and silver. It pushed the paper gold and silver price real low. Suddenly, a wave of physical buyers showed up. Who would have thought that? I'll take $100,000. I'll take $100,000. Give me $1 million. Man sitting on toilet. Now, I don't know for sure that he was sitting on toilet. That's a little fantasy of my own. Sitting there on his Bullion Vault link app. Bought £1 million. £1 million of gold. Just like that. Oh well. Let's have £1 million, shall we? Boom. Pop that in on your device. Send that wee little order down the tube. Sees what happens. Boom shakalak, paper price of gold and silver having plunged faster than you could hurl a javelin into the ground from the roof of a house, suddenly rebounding like the bounciest of balls. I've got a really nice ball. I like to play with it. It's a super bouncy ball. It's got multiple layers. It's got one of the best percentages of bouncing in the world. I kid you not. Way, look at it. It's still going. I can't even catch it. It went way over my head. That ball bounces probably about 85-90% of whatever it had in it. Gold is bouncing even better. It's got 100% and some in terms of how it's bouncing back. And funny enough, we're finding that there's people that are having problems delivering the gold in Comex. New York against the physical gold. Oh dear, had cashed in. What's happening? Bloomberg details. The honorable, let it be said, highly honorable Bloomberg News, mainstream media outlet, did report a small band of traders who for years had cashed in on what had always been a surefire bet, shorting gold futures in New York against being long physical gold in London. Well, they didn't have the ride they typically planned for. So the story goes. Who knows? Who knows what the real story is? I assess, and we've been speaking into our little community, we are bullish the Sunday open on gold. Yes, sir. And palladium with an even more proven non-derivatives contract. There are no derivatives easily to be constructed around such a thinly traded metal as palladium, which has proven shortages. I expect equally interesting results. So there's no gold, says Josh Strauss, partner at the money manager Perkin Hardy Strauss in Chicago. There's just no gold. There's roughly a 10% premium to purchase physical gold for delivery. Usually it's like 2%. I can buy a 1 ounce American Eagle for $1,800. $1,800. Yes, wow. So now people are finding there isn't any, and the little that is charging huge premiums. Go check, my friend Josh Strauss, go check the premium on silver. Yes, silver traded in the $10. Try buy an ounce of silver coin for physical delivery at $10. You'll find amounts ranging from $17 to $25. That's right. A 70% premium, a 150% premium. Oh dear. I sure hope you boys have stocked up. These days they are coming. The great unravel of the paper metals Ponzi scheme. Yes, sir, that's what we call it. Unbacked. They are calling for the London bullion market to come and make whole on delivery calls in the Comex market. It was always becoming a fraction of a smaller delivery market. It is Shanghai at the end of the day that is actually delivering gold. And that is the exchange price that should matter. And the much bigger and highly traded Comex will eventually taper into insignificance. It does not represent the real physical delivery. Yep. So one person says, in regard to real physical gold delivery, the situation was even worse for bullion bankers than the situation with real physical silver delivery, which likely has given rise to physical gold supply problems at the current time. Yep. The unexpected demand on bullion bank physical gold reserve has undoubtedly led to disruption of physical gold delivery associated with the gold futures. Comex spokesmen have claimed. Oh, wow. So now you are finding out that there is very little behind the curtain in that which they sell in terms of physical gold. Expect supply problems. Expect this greater aspect and news and limitations to seep out during the course of this week. And one of two things must occur. The paper price must start to converge with the reality of physical availability, with a moderate premium on physical delivery, or it will become irrelevant and that which you pay will become localized and expect the premiums to be vast and for the paper price to largely have less and less relevance. One of those must occur, people. One of those must indeed occur. What saith thee? Let's look at the comments and see what you say. Love bullion, not the easiest to liquidate, says John Belushi. John, pretty easy to liquidate, but obviously you have to get it out wherever you've hidden it and find someone honest who shops with a wallet, not an AK-47, and then you should be just fine. Bitcoin looking a bit soft at the moment, says Kristen Knoll. Bitcoin when moon, surprisingly XRP. Looking like it's in a couple of little mini setups, but this is on short time frames, little pop up, but largely it's a flat, even bear flag like channel that both are in. Bitcoin could even be in a wedge with a squeeze for a down break. So there is possibilities. There will be a second stage of fear. This could coincide, beautiful people, with the collapse, a Mark II collapse of the stock market and our friend, the HYG, which is currently having a little rally after 6 trillion. I did remind everybody both on a tweet and my premium community where we went through specific trades for an hour and we did an extra half hour. In fact, such is the amount that we need to cover, and we still haven't covered it all. But the looms and everything we do during the week will catch it up with the equities, the debts, ETFs and everything else. 614, 138 likes. That means approximately 25% of you are appreciating a live stream from me for every day for the lockdown. And to those people, I say thank you very much. And are sharing with friends and family members so that the news about what we should be doing can get out. Yes, indeed. Miners will lag for a while until they don't. And boy, then they will play catch up. BTC is not the market to be in for me at the moment. I am trading the traditional markets and just keeping watching re-minute on crypto. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, and it's not yet the hour for that man, but he will have his day as every dog has his day. With the amazing Scandinavian capital markets, I am flagrantly shilling for them. Look at the mozzies, they've been getting me, I think. It's been a beautiful last 4 weeks. Last week, a bit tetchy, but beautiful last few weeks. Made multiple over of my account, thanks to a bit of leverage over 100x, sorry, not over, at 100x, being able to trade palladium at 100x. It's criminal that it's allowed. I don't know who their liquidity provider is and how they let us get away with it, but we've ripped some dollars from them. The golds, the silvers, the ruble, everything else for the last 3 weeks have been amazing, being able to trade with that leverage. They have a link below and you can grab it. And you don't have to be even part of the community to grab it. I did a video for my community how I'm using it, and it has helped. When you're right, you can be damn right if you have real leverage, but remember, it cuts both ways. This is not advice. Remember to be careful. You can blow yourself up. Yeah. Will the EU break up soon? Port Film Co-op. So the EU is in deep trouble. They haven't been very joined together. And in fact, we'll take a little skim. I've got a little treat for you over here for this live stream. Yes, indeed, I threw down hard-earned on this oily little rag that positions itself as a premier economic rag of note. Of course, it's controlled and owned by the usual suspects, and it is highlighting being closed. The Economist, closed for business. Yes, I had a little look at what our control structure is chatting about. US-China relations in crisis. Well, of course, the blame game is there to also create a backdrop for a potential war if it's needed. Where they can massacre on huge scale, because as usual, it'll be men that will die in volumes in some conventional war. The dash to cash and some other interesting things. We will have a little look at this in a few minutes. But let's just run through the comments. Interesting it is. Bitcoin to 1,000, says Anon. Waiting for Brexit on Sunday, Brent on Sunday open. Yeah. So here's the core thing that I want to warn some folk about on the Brent trade. It's done well and it's rolled over, and it could go quite a long way down, and at another level I feel a little bit uncomfortable with it. The other thing that's worrying me, and this is anecdote, so it's already done what we said it would do. It broke and sold off from around the 27s, and I think it's at around the 25s now. We can check it on a chart in a bit. But the key aspect technically now, given it took so long, it's changed shape a little bit. It may go all the way to 21. We're not saying it won't, but there could suddenly be a bump to the upside. What's also worrying me now is all the people that are now coming out and shouting for single digits. Remember, we never shouted for a single digit. When it was 65, we said the possibility of a single digit is hopelessly underpriced. In other words, where it might be priced as not 0.1%, it should be priced more like 15 or 20%. Now we're down here in these levels and all of this news has happened. Now we've got all the wagon chasers that are now trying to outdo each other. It's kind of like the Bitcoin bull guys that come out at 100,000. They don't have a technical reason. They don't have anything. 100,000, a million, 500,000. I mean, how many times has McAfee been wrong about a year-end Bitcoin, and people will still listen because he's saying what they want to hear on the basis that maybe one day he'll be right. It's kind of like perpetual mudslinging at a wall, and other people like him. I'm actually concerned by all the non-reason, non-justification pissing matches that just wants to be the more bearish and say get their name to it of now coming out calling single digits. I think it's a perfect time for it to reverse and actually have a potential quite big rally. I don't think it's going back to strength. There's no strength in the economy. Yes, there's all the oil tankers as mobile storage spaces. Yes, it's dynamically weak, but just right now, that particular setup structure, that was a 30-minute type pattern for us. Took a while before it broke, and there was like little grind binges. It's just got a little bit low vol, then it spilled out the bottom. It could be one of our type 2 wedges where you get a falling wedge, you spill out the bottom, and then you actually get a bop. So be careful, be careful. We'll see what it does on the open, but be careful. Don't anticipate it only to go one way. And it's starting, I'm worried about the number of people now running to the one side of the boat. And that usually is the time I move to the other. So a couple of anecdotal aspects about how it moved technically. So be careful on that one. But ruble is still looking weak, but it might be for other reasons. It might not only be for oil. So maybe the oil does go down, but maybe there's some military standoff. Maybe there's something else that occurs. We don't know. Okay. So problem is you get $3,000 income via Fed, but your children have to pay back $21,000, explains St. Gaulis to others. Yeah, okay, good. So let's have a look at The Economist. Closed for business. What does The Economist want you beautiful people to know? So 766 of you and 222 giving us a like here. I appreciate it and I thank you. It's greatly appreciated that you value someone giving up some of his Sunday time. The struggle to save lives and the economy is likely to present agonizing choices. Government and central banks are spending. No doubt about that, sweetheart. Business grinds to a halt thanks to you creating that by design and gutting and slaughtering small businesses. Many restaurants will close and never open again, I'm pretty sure. Let's get to the summary article of the main article. As I go through, where are autonomous vehicles accelerating the self-drive revolution? Invest in Britain. All about autonomous driving, self-driving surveillance, basically, because to do a self-driving vehicle, you need to know exactly where you are so that you can say you're half a foot away from a car that is also known exactly where it is. So this is called highly precise location if you're to do autonomous driving. What else have we got? Who else is a sponsor and might advertise, for example, in the Economist magazine? Maybe like one of the first pages as you get started on a full page basis. Who do we have here in transgender pink? Let me see now. My eyes are deceiving me. This calls for my cheap because I sit on break and lose glasses like nothing. My cheap bought in America, $10 specials. Please put all forms of criticism and laughing jokes in here right now. These are vile and I know it to be so, but I care not if I lose them. I bought 3 and I broke 2 within minutes. Real reliability delivers every time. Aramco oil. My special indicator for bear selling. How about that? Right there in the mix, full pager. One of the first you see as you storm into the Rothschild rag. The world relies on energy and the demand is ever growing. To meet these expectations, we've pushed out our on-time delivery to 99.9% so that whether it's driving economies, powering communities, or simply printing this publication, the world can rely on us. You are relying on the Saudi family-owned Aramco oil that signaled the death of the oil market, that convinced me even further, like the Swiss bank saying it is absolutely central to their policy that the peg stays. I absolutely knew I had to double my shorts and wait for that moment. Here we had Aramco as the death knell, listing benefactor of the Saudi people, listing the 2 trillion market cap then sought at that time. I wonder how that market cap looks now. I wonder how those shareholders of Aramco, the patsies, the citizen patsies. Remember, the game is always to position you as a citizen patsy. Government never actually gives you money. They buy in your loyalty and there's always an exchange, and you give away your peace, your surveillance, you dance when they tell you to dance, you take the vaccination when they tell you to take the vaccination. You will do as you say, otherwise your benefits that you come to rely on will be whisked away. Yes, and it's your money anyway. They've devalued it and printed it. So the week in COVID, this is The Economist COVID. So let's get to our closed core article. Stock market volatility. Look at that for a little hockey stick, my beautiful friends. Yes, indeed. A little hockey stick, stock market volatility. What else did they have in here? Back to my cheap set of eyes. Yes, look at this and marvel how handsome I could be for a $10 set of cheap specs. Commodity prices. Amazon deciding to employ 100,000 warehouse logistic workers in America to help cope with a surge in online shopping. Oh, hasn't this lockdown so helped the likes of Netflix, Amazon? I wonder, what a coincidence. They've done so well. Boeing asked for help, requesting 60 billion in access to public and private liquidity. These are the same people that bought a cheap accountant's version of a 787 MAX, which they eliminated largely the aeronautical engineers. They were boring people that made them want to spend more money and make planes costly. Why not do one on the cheap that kills people? Oh dear, but you're killing the company now. Nobody wants to buy your plane. Never mind 62 million buyback, 62 million divorce for the CEO. Off he walks with 62, having been the man along with his board. The entire board should go, of course, because they're all bean counters, not engineers, that bought everything stock back worth many hundreds of millions, now asking for bailouts. Now that their options have all cashed in and their stock prices crashed, and they've been part of the many that have left and sold their shares at the top. Amazing. I also posted and shared an article how insiders sold the top of the market with absolute accuracy, including Mr. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, who liquidated about 3.9 billion in February, just prior to the COVID collapse. My goodness, what an awesome trader he is. I wonder which technical indicator he was using. Do you? Maybe we should all buy it. Or maybe it was something else. Who knows? So here we go. France has fined Apple 1.1. Let's get to the key story. So 12 weeks after the first reports of people mysteriously falling ill in Wuhan, spook governments are rushing to impose controls that would have been unimaginable only a few weeks ago. Yes, your Bolshevism has arrived, my friends. Your lockdown state Bolshevism. Scores of countries, including many in Africa, Latin America, barred travelers from places where the virus is rife. Times Square is deserted. The city of London is dark. And in France, Italy, and Spain, cafe, bars, and restaurants have bolted their doors everywhere. It's become clear the economy is taking a much worse battering. Yes, you've organized that pretty well, haven't you, for your little flu bug. By the way, we all have a corona probably in us. COVID-19 is a subset of corona, and any flu, many of them are coronas. And by the way, I don't think it's as bad as anybody thinks it is. But anyway, why not use it to kill the economy that was already slowing, that you'd already manufactured in lieu of our inverse rate differentials on the T-bills. Anyway, so let's get to this. Retail sales were already down prior to the coronavirus. So they're admitting that there was a recession already go. This is the backdrop for fundamental choices about how to manage the disease. Yeah, our approach is mitigation, flattening the curve, to make the pandemic less intense, including shutting in everybody. The modelers found models. You will learn a lot about models. The modelers found this, the modelers found that. These are the same models that run in the Fed, that run in the central banks, that never saw 2007 or 8. They never saw a subprime crisis. But I, on a YouTube, could, and many others like me. Peter Schiff and many others all saw it coming, but not the modelers. The modelers, they were modeling, special modeling. They were doing clever things with formulas. They modeled their way to nowhere. They modeled and saw nothing. They modeled, but yet they were blind. That is the truth about modeling. Modeling is what a little girl does with long legs. That's all the modeling I can respect. This is just a model, they later say. Models are just educated guesses based on the best evidence. No, they're worse than that. They're even worse than that. Governments are opting for more stringent controls needed to suppress the pandemic. Suppression has the advantage that it worked in China. Did it really? Maybe it was managed or made to look like it worked in China. Maybe China is the communistic state we're all meant to emulate right now in this Bolshevik revolution. Suppression has the advantage that it worked in China, really. China's recorded the total, shut your stats, are all probably lies. But the suppression has a sting in its tail. By keeping infection rates relatively low, it leaves many people susceptible to the virus. So it goes on to say how reluctant and how cautious. Government rarely gives up power once it's been given it. Such power that has been promised. Fighting the slump. fighting the slump, and guess who? The world economy has been turned inside out. Stock markets have collapsed. This is the bit we want. Western authorities have promised huge sums. A crude estimate for America, Germany, Britain, France, and Italy, including spending pledges, tax cuts, central bank cash injections, amount to about 7.4 trillion. Now, the 6 trillion that was done recently by America alone could buy you 70% of the world gold supplies. That was the stat I was wanting to mention. That is 23%. 7.4 trillion is 23% of the total GDP, world GDP of the Western nations, not China. Central banks are responsible for over 4/5 of that, and many governments are now doing too little. So what interesting is happening is that now, in modern monetary theory, we can kill the Fed because the new spender is government. That's right, government, the Treasury. The Treasury can now overtake the role of the Fed. We can have a revolution where we set the central bank back and give it a back seat. It's getting too much flack. It's getting too much attention. It seems the time is coming. There was a little change that the Federal Reserve went from .org. It went from .org. What was it? It went to .org to .gov. Suddenly, a privately owned central bank made up of banker shareholder corporations suddenly became .gov. But hold on, have you been nationalized now? Is this the first sweep of communism? A .org that represents private banks, a cartel of private banks, is now a .gov. What does that mean? You are the government? You're admitting the government? Biden storms ahead, but he is just a mere sideshow in the Democratic race against Sanders. He's going to lose hopelessly to Trump. We all know that. He is an absolute little kiddie fiddler by every single tendency that we see. But that's all a sideshow, because now we admit the privately owned bankers are in fact our rulers. And modern monetary theory, which is going to gain MMT, learn now MMT, what it means. Modern monetary theory. It's modern. You know, we all should be progressive. You should like contemporary design and modern things. Devices that can do cool stuff like Steve Jobs. Isn't it cool? Like Bill Gates. Isn't it cool? It's so cool. You've got to even say it like this. You go, cool, cool. It's not cool. It's cool. It's like that. Modern monetary theory is cool. It's the new way. It's the millennium way. It's the new thinking. It's the thinking of our time. We can spend our way out of any recession and depression because we can keep spending and monetizing. That is the realm of modern monetary theory in a simplistic way. Just write the goddamn check. Keep writing the check. So what? Fed just becomes the bookkeeper with a little loan thing. Keep writing the checks. Keep proliferating the money. Government is the man of money now. Just spend, spend, and spend. You could have bought 70% of the gold supply with that 6 trillion. Never mind. Why not buy it all? Buy it all off the poor miners that have never had a fair price for it in ages and years. You probably own those same mines as part of the scam. But there might be a few private shareholders in there. Who knows? The gold miner will have his day when we start to get the complete failure of the dual pricing system, paper versus physical delivery. This is it. Fighting the slump. Expect modern monetary theory to become as commonplace as your Marvel star called Safe Space, the non-binary character created for you by Marvel. Along with Snowflake and Safe Space, we will charge to the rescue of the world with our modern monetary theory, and we will spend. You can have some money. You can have some money. Think Oprah. You can have some money. You can have some money. You can have some. It's going to be a pandemic of confetti cash that not even the helicopters will be able to shovel it out the doors fast enough. It's going to go from transgender fantasy reigning men and women to a reigning fiat, reigning the fiat of the dollar across the world, printing for everybody. This is the game, beautiful people. This is the game we are playing. The tangibles, the time of the tangibles are coming. The petro power struggle, indeed it is. The game's the thing. Sport, the removal of sport has removed morale. They have created a depression in people's minds. No more the seeing of mighty Liverpool scoring a plethora of gold and collecting their well-deserved championship. You shall not see it. You will be denied the crowning event. Yes, indeed. This is the Economist that we have to do. Because it's time for us all to flatten the curve. Flatten the curve, people. Roll it out with that rolling pin. Something we never bothered to do with the debt explosion was flattening the curve. No, sir, we tapered. We tapered for a nanosecond and then we pumped ever higher. This wasn't even a pullback in debt, my friends. We called it foul, we called it to die, and so it did. So what do we have? What do we have for you? My take, rummaging in the toolbox. The toolbox, the many tools you find in the toolbox. My favorite, note how there's a language for central bankers speak. They always create a dialect. You know you are speaking to a control structure propaganda machine. You know you are talking to a central banker. You know you are talking to a prat politician when they refer to the toolbox. It's like a surgeon unrolling a kit that just keeps unfurling with magnificent medical tools and optics and scalpels and saws and bone cutters. Let's not forget our Saudi friends' special preferences, please. And here it unfolds. I remember I was in the army. I had a rifle cleaning kit. It unrolled a wee bit. You unrolled it. You had a pipe. You had a power on. You had an extension. You bolted them all together. You shafted your rifle with your brush. You then had a little 2x4 cotton for after oiling, and you had a little bigger brush for cleaning a bigger pipe. It was about this big, and it unfurled. I had tools. I had tools for cleaning a rifle. And there were many components in their tools. I'd say 8 or 9, some of which needed to be pieced together. Now I'm here to tell you, the central bankers, the politicians, and your control structure will always refer to a toolbox because they want you to think there is Merlin the magician with a magic bag with a rabbit and a hare and a different kind of rabbit and a different kind of animal and a dove and a transgender pink tissue and all sorts of tools that will come out of this toolbox. But actually, all they do is proliferate money in various forms. And that is, banks have a lower reserve ratio, they buy debt. All of this is proliferation of money. Bailouts, swaps, they are all, hi, I will loan you more money. That is the tools, the tools. So every time you're reading anybody that talks of the tools, know you are talking to a deceiver, a liar, and a machination, a cog of the great machine, because they use a special language so that they create a biological impression in your mind that they have many more things that they can do for you. This is the art of the deception. When you hear deceptive talk, know the deceiver is the one speaking. So here, rummaging in the toolbox. Here is a classic example where in the Economist magazine, rummaging in the toolbox, new lows for global interest rates. So you're near zero, the monetary tools are almost done, and the printing tools are 6 trillion to the good, and everybody is locked down and no economic activity of any significance is taking place unless you have an online business and on Netflix or Amazon. Yes, all the retailers will be mopped up. Amazon will sell it all to you, my friends, never fear. The Rockefellers were famous for paying their miners and oil workers, locking them up in villages and then owning all the shops to take all that salary back. Yes, that is the nature of the game. You need a psychopathic desire to pursue every single cent and curtail people's freedoms therein. That is the name of the game. And this is the magazine of the psychopaths. Charlemagne, Europe more or less. The great European experiment. We need more Europe in these times, they say. more cooperation, more government, more Europe in these times. Yes, indeed. We should be expanding government even further. Yes, indeed. It is absolutely amazing to see what you see here in The Economist. And I can tell you, gentlemen, you are missing nothing but propaganda. Propaganda on distancing, propaganda, the little gay house on the prairie, propaganda and proliferation and psyops. And no island is an island. They want you to think, in case you were thinking of escaping to some very remote islands, they have an answer for you right here. There shall be no escape, they say. No island is truly an island. Thinking of the Marshall Islands, the Cook Islands, or any of those, well, think again, friends. They are blocking and COVID-19ing and everybody. Tonga, Venusia, cruise ships are kept out. I don't blame them for that, to be honest, but I think it's a fake flu and a fake risk. Even their own supply lines are being held up for 14 days on boats in these remote islands. Micronesia, many Pacific jurisdictions. The Marshall Islands, yep, looking like a war zone, said the Health Secretary, Jack Nierenthal. An outbreak of measles in Samoa in December killed 83 people, most of them children. So they are all locked down too. The whole world is shut up shop, thanks to our benefactor leaders. What saith the masses? Have they said, oh, we have almost 1,000 people. If 30 people had it shared to them, we would cross 1,000. 970 people. We're missing 1,000. We have 30 people to get. All I need is 30 shares to bring on a friend or a family member, and we will get it. This virus also kills dreams. The blot to education. I have a daughter. She will not write those very important GCSEs. COVID-19. Look at New York. This is how you kill an economy, friends. I've been there. Many in Americas will have been there. Many not of America will have been there. Usually, I mean, you will have millions in the streets. But now those expensive advertising boards are there for no one. Now, a little bit of interesting stats for you. A little bit of interesting stats. Seeks his cheap eyes once again. Recovery after a 10% collapse. Now, my friends, if you think you're only going to lose 10%, you are sorely, sorely disappointed. The recovery after a 10% collapse. Let's find that article. Before I do that one, even better, must be done. S&P crashes, cumulative percentage decline relative to peak. Now, this is going to be kind of small, but I'm going to show it to you as best I can on the camera. There where my finger is. Let's get the focus. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Focus here. You may or you may not see it. It's a small pick in the cover there, the corner there. So what I'm actually saying is 2020, aka now, is the steepest and harshest sell-off. It's more harsh than 87, more harsh than 70. And that's the first leg. 2007 went a lot lower, my friends. 1973 went a lot lower, my friends. 1980 went exceedingly low. 2000 went exceedingly low. This is the first slapdown. What might you expect? I expect a rally and then some death. Then some corporations, operating expenditure to cash flow. So you have Apple here, which is highly cash generative, and debt to market cap ratio across the top. You have Edison International with huge debt to a lower market cap ratio that runs into hundreds. This is a log scale. Apple is near 0.1. It's got such high market cap value. General Electric has gone from around 0.1 for Apple to well beyond 1 on its debt. There are companies that are absolutely indebted and should be allowed to go bankrupt. They are not being allowed to go bankrupt, my friends. The government will be buyer of last resort till the very end. Emerging markets money. So this will tie in with our FX emergings. First line of retreat, cumulative non-resident portfolio flows to emerging markets during global shocks. Out of emerging markets. COVID-19 took the most amount of money out of. The current crisis, that dark brown line, took the most out. This was the China scare of 2016. It was July 15, but it went into a market crash in 16. This is global financial crisis, September 2008, 30% out. You plummeted to well beyond 60% in a short time, and it's still in flow, my poor emerging market friends. US high yield corporate bonds spread over treasuries. That was the 2008-09. This is our HYG trade in the bottom corner, just beginning, I suspect. Yes, there'll be a pullback, a buy of everything, but just a beginning. So the Economist of the week, full of good tidings, full of positive events. This was the one I was going to refer to. Years to come back from a major decline in GDP. Recovery from more than a 10% decline in GDP, worst performing, best performing, and average. So that is it there. Have a little look. Now I'll tell you what you to conclude. It's not really focusing very well. Look into my eyes, look into my eyes, look into my eyes. That one. Come on, focus. Okay, it's not going to do it. So the average is for a recovery to where you were before. The first time you step from where you were before, 5 years. 5 years. For those of you that think this is a minor event, you are having GDP testicola vandolas cut right off. You have a eunuch economy. You don't grow a new pair of testicles. You might have a few peas that will replace the previous duck's eggs of sheer economic manhood. But let me tell you, you don't grow a few testes in a short time. There will be people who have lost jobs. There will be people going to debt. They will be fighting their way back from debt. We're at 987, almost 1,000 people live streaming. I love it. Thank you. And 40% of you are liking. And I wonder how many are sharing. So the pullback period after you have such a brutal down leg is extensive. In other words, remember 08, we never fully recovered. I can't remember which one it was, actually. There was one particular equity that literally made the previous highs just before we went to a crash. Stroke industry. It was the financials. I think it was a financial index. It literally made the 07 highs. And this is in deflated dollars that have been hopelessly proliferated since then. In Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, QN, Quicksilver QE, Repo QE, you name it, all of the many more monies, throw it out. All of those. And we still had just made it, and then it went into its next plummet. Wow, that is hardcore. Hardcore, my friends. 449 of you liking, and thank you, and 1,000 of you on. Let's have a look at your questions. Silver is hot if you can find it. Yes, it is. The Agnellis of Italy are the major shareholders, even though the Rothschilds are part owners too. For Agnelli need Fiat Chrysler. That's right. Fiat Shotgun married the Chrysler into a very weak automotive company. Cars are a sell, with the exception possibly of Tesla and all of them generally. The Volkswagen Group and all of them, they'll probably do badly, but they'll survive, I suspect. But the American car companies are an absolute sell. They don't sell enough internationally. They've got a massive pension crisis on their hands, and people ain't going to be buying cars. They've got a lot of indebted guys. There's going to be a glut of repo cars, and it's going to be out of fashion, petrol and diesel, particularly diesel. So the new wave cars will be coming. There'll be a cash for clunker scheme, I suspect, to get diesels off the road, to get us all into battery. I have a golf cart along with my more spirited combustion engine vehicles to cruise around the development in. And it's quiet and it buzzes along just fine. We will have more elaborate versions of that. Thumbs up, peeps. Yes, Boeing, disgusting Boeing. I covered them about how they're asking for a bailout. Of course, Boeing, one mustn't forget, has a military industrial complex section to it. Everyone thinks just purely of the aviation corporate seller of commercial flight machines. In fact, they go beyond that. Yes, we know The Economist is published by the Rothschilds. That's why we read it, to see what they are brainwashing us with. Sele Cooper, Thank you, stepmom. Well done. Shout out for the stepmoms. I bet you're having fun with the kiddies back at home. I bet they're keeping you busy, love. Oh, yes. Come on, the stepmoms. Lockheed as well is out and out military and aviation. Does do a little bit of commercial, but it's no hiding what it does. What else have we got? Charlie Fetty. I'd like to see a show with Market Sniper and Kaiser Report sorting some of this stuff out. Seems like it would be a good time and enlightening. Yeah, get on Max to get in touch. I'm always here. I'm available. Maxi boy. In fact, we'll fight for airtime. He's not one to be shy for a few words, and probably neither am I. Will the Fed use their own Fed coin, or will they use an existing crypto? I do not think they will easily bless an existing crypto. I think they will say new and improved. It's always new and improved. You see, you've got to believe in the new believe. You need new believers. There's people who are skeptical about Bitcoin because they said it was the currency of pedophiles and gun runners and drug dealers. Remember all that. So they need a new, freshly branded, using some of the similar technology, but copied and cloned, but now called our own. It might even be separate. It might not even be blockchain, although it'll work like blockchain, be blockchain. They might name it something different. With an overlay of Microsoft-funded Lightning Network, they will call it New Chain with New Coin. Fedcoin, look at Daimler, very high net debt. Yeah, lots of shorts. Hans Danzig is highlighting a car company. Shorts to be had in car companies, but don't expect them to go to zero. The government will provide fiat. Remember, particularly to the megacorps. Boeing gave us the Enola Gay and bombs away. Yep, Francis, is a bullion vault a safe place to store gold? So I've recently reserved bars, which means that my particular level of holding has specifically named bars that cannot be offered to other people. So I'm assuming, as they've always stated by their, I haven't been to go visit them like I did with Scandinavian Capital Markets. I didn't go to Stockholm and speak with them, see their operations, see their shop. But they are a big commercial that allege to be straight up and honest and not to hypothecate. So they recognize the problem and they address it specifically. And you can collect. I think there's a collection fee though, because there's always seemed to be a little bomb uptick when you want your physical. Fed might use XRP, says Joseph Dredd. I think he means might. He could possibly be right. Where should I buy gold? So I'm doing the electronic gold that I believe I can have reserve bars through Bullion Vault. I haven't been paid a goddamn thing from them in terms of promoting them, but I read the story and I saw the main guy's name who did a very detailed where gold might end up and was very conservative, took the low road on each fork and everything and came to multiple thousands. First prize 1 week in Lagos, second prize 2 weeks, says MetaManx man. Stephanie, you don't need Bitcoin once you are dead. Do you see BTC below 4K in the near term? Not got any clear-cut targets for BTC. It's kind of looks like it could be a rising wedge. Rising wedge don't give us, the technical analysis does apply targets. I don't find them reliable, and so therefore I'm not committing until I have HVF method on them, which you can learn to do for yourself and answer all these questions yourself in the link below. It's a skill that'll stay with you forever. Neither would I want to take it away from you, even if I could. And it's a skill that you could apply to housing and any market that generates a price discovery mechanism, including markets where there are big participants like central bankers. And it's what I did in shorting the euro Swiss franc the first time on the peg, and oil and many other markets. PAA, that by the way went from $25 to the $3 we said it would. All my puts were closed, all my spreads were closed. Tullow went to our target. All of these things, more recent history. I mean, I've got social proof to go out my ears, but I'm not here to sell. You either get me or you don't. Hedge your Bitcoin and short some XBT USD swap, says Zara Bryson. Welcome to Zara. She sounds like Fem. Nice to have the ladies in the house. Miami here, says Mr. Perez. That sounds Miami believer. I saw the Miami Heat playing basketball at one old time, and they're very creative. Let's go Heat, sing-along song. I got the words quite quickly. I appreciate simplicity. Let's go Heat. Let's go Heat. I kind of got it. It was pretty easy. You don't need to learn. You never walk alone like you do on the Anfield Cop End stands that I also had the privilege of being in. No, siree. A one-liner will do. We keep it simple in Miami. I like it. Francis, which fiat currency might you suggest to hold during this time? Yen and dollar. Yen and dollar. And we are short the USD as against the yen. It's the only place that I'm long-term short. We got short after a nice rising wedge, and it is making money in thousands for me currently, because dollar actually had a week last week, but the precious metals didn't, had also a little benign week. It was a bitty week of a week last week. Francis, which fiat currency? Answered that. XRP, greatest scam of all time. May well be. It is setting up some minor technical structure, but it's also in a continuation pattern for downside. Generally, it's been very poor technically on the macro scale. What happened to your yuppie suits, Francis? Always dress more comfortable these days. I'm in a warm, balmy climate. I swim buck naked in that pool and embarrass everyone who lives with me. And then I surveil the jungle. And I say, isn't it great? I jump on my motorcycle in my flip-flops and short pants. I stand up in the pegs like a meerkat, surveying the savannah, and I drive around without a helmet and sunglasses and a cap. I live a life of luxury. I am very fortunate. And I am eternally grateful. What do you think about ruble? Do you still think it'll break resistance? It's in a falling wedge, and it has broken out of that wedge. And it will probably have a minor pullback. It's already had a little minor pullback, and I expect further upside as Sunday opens. It is of a very great interest to me. The ruble. The dollar index will rally when the markets sell off again. Isn't your short dollar trade risky? I have more long dollar trades than my USD JPY short. So I'm net long a dollar, mainly against emergings. But some of them I've backed off because they've made technical targets. If you were in our premium review, you would know which ones as well. But I am still interested in the ruble, so you can know that going into that. Princess Ezekiel is a true MILF. That's a creative name. Francis, what do you think about ruble? We've answered that. I'm reading the same things more than once. What do you think about ruble? Yeah, lots of people asking the same question. Hello, Francis. Thanks for your great video. Thoughts on the Swedish krona? Further to go. Sweden. The beautiful people of the Sweden. In fact, on that, and thinking of immigrants and nations with high numbers of immigration, France says, do not enforce, I repeat, the lockdown rules in immigrant places, because you're likely, and this is important, to trigger social unrest riots. So that is what's next coming for your COP friends, my friend. In the poorest areas, social unrest riots. If you can't work, idle hands find evil work. Yes, idle hands find evil work. Swedish krona. We've looked at the Norwegian krona. Let's look at the SEK. And I will answer this gentleman's question out of courtesy, or lady, it may well be, while we look at it. So social issues are going to become the next theme, and then the financials will flare again after the dollar permeates in all the places that it was needed. So Swedish krona, let's have a look on a bigger time frame, the daily. It's had a pullback after melting up, but it is the beginning of further disruption to the krona, in my view. In short, we will have a dollar milkshake theory. I'm a fan of the dollar milkshake. The only difference is people don't get yen, generally. So Kyle Bass was a big bear yen, and I continue to say, in my view, that is the one currency that will not have to, may have already a lot of money in dollars already, but will also appreciate. If you look at the gold chart, and I mentioned this at the previous view, so I am answering a lot of the same questions here. So let's just see if there's any new questions. So Swedish krona, big melt up and a 50% pullback. If you are in Sweden, I personally, if I was a Swede, would be out of the krona as much as possible, keep my living standards for near-term cash requirements in krona, and have the rest in dollars rather. If I didn't have an investment strategy, trading and trading accounts that I was trading, if I'm just a person looking to protect the buying power of their currency, I would have dollars over krona. Yes, ma'am or sir, that is what I would do. And looking at the chart confirms it. It has had a pullback. It did go up to 10.46, but it was from a low of about 9.25. It's now 9.87. So when the dollar reasserts, I would expect this to reassert to the upside. So we will have dollar milkshake theory. Okay, anything else? Trump 2020, I think he will win it. So indices are going to be, and I've stayed out of indices. You might notice that I don't talk much about indices. I shorted individual stocks that were petroleum specific with our petrol short, oil short. But actually, the Dow Jones and the buying, I mean, the dollar milkshake guys say if this is the low, then actually American equities will pump back up and go to new highs in ridiculous valuation, because the world's money will flow to America and push higher valuation. So what you end up getting is crowding out of the capital into the USD. So it might be a great time to buy index trackers with a massive lump sum. Might be a great time. Could be, but you could get a rally and a further smackdown as well. So in short, on the big time frame view, I'm getting a megaphone on the Dow Jones. And that is often a later continuation pattern to the upside. But things will have to settle down, and there's a lot more ructions to occur before the settling down. But if they keep printing money, big companies will still have some value that generate earnings. And of course, the control structure companies are going to clean up. Amazon is going to clean up. Retail is going to be killed. Shopping malls are going to be killed. What more could you want? One world retailer. A pandemic that keeps everybody out of shopping malls unless you sell petrol, you sell big farmers' products, or you sell food. Everything else, well, Amazon can help you. They're open. Online, buy now, while stocks last. Okay, yep, good. That's it for the live streaming, guys. Nikkei is green. Will it outperform global indices? Generally, no, because its currency is going to get stronger, in my view. It's hard for the Nikkei to do it. The Nikkei is America 25 years ahead. So if I get the Nikkei up and have a look at it, the 225 Nikkei. So I'm not big on the indices right now because I think the yen, if it firms, you will battle to do well. It also has a descending megaphone, which is probably a likelihood for upside continuation. But you've got to remember that this is off a very low base. It's spilled hard from 24,000 down to 16,000. And if we go monthly, this is the index that has gone 40,000 in its demographic boom, just under 40,000. Now we can't see that anymore. It's disgusting that you don't have. Oh, hold on. It's backloaded some data now. Finally, now you can see the 39,000 high, 370. And you traded 24 and you spilled. But you are being bought back up on the shorter time frames. But game isn't indices for me. Game is currencies, more liquid, more clear cut, and less prone to an announcement that suddenly cocks your trade up. You're going to be beholden to the news and what goes down in the news of the world in terms of the markets. Yeah, so beware and be cautious of that. Indeed. Okay, that's it. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. 959 of you. I appreciate you, and I thank you. 521 likes, over 50%. I love 61.8% because I like to think of myself as the golden mean. How to cope with wide spreads currently, Francis, please. Don't day trade. Don't jump in and out. Decide good long-term position trades. Look at the bigger charts. Decide if you want to be net long or net short. Have a method. You can learn about a method in our links below. Book a chat. Have a strategy and then hold. Don't be a scalper. Big spreads, if you're getting into bid spreads on Scandinavian, actually the spreads are quite wide on Palladium, wider than other platforms, but the leverage is insane. So I trade it for the leverage. I don't get in and out. I'm expecting generally to be net long it. I want to be a holder, and I'll be a holder till precious metals moon. So even if I cock up and I'm asleep and it suddenly moons when I'm not watching or I miss something, I'll go. But obviously, I've got to watch it if it comes down hard. What do you think will be the next world reserve currency? It could be an SDR, it could be an ESDR. Pelosi was mumbling about digital dollars. All these things may come in, but I think the dollar ceases to be named the dollar. Something new comes out. CAD is still going through 1.6 on the big time frames, but it's going to be pullback season initially. For the person that asked, we've got good Canadian and Australian support. Thank you to our Canadians and Australians. Hit the like button if you're from Canada or Australia, so that we can see how many of you. If you've already liked, hit the share button. How's about that for a clever little trick? USD CAD, quick peek at the USD CAD for you to give you top of the line comment. USD CAD, as I said, we're already expecting a 1.6. We've got great structure. We've had an incredible move to the upside, and then it got spanked back with the dollar proliferation, which we expected. We still expect the 15889 to be run with a bit of overperformance, going to naturally take you through the 1.6 in a reliability sense. But in the meantime, you've been pulling back quite harshly after the big pump. I would wait for more clear signs of that being over. You could break into the trade at lower levels. And once again, the news for people in Sweden is the same as the news for the people in Canada, is the same for the people in Australia. You needed to be out of your local currency. You needed to be dollar heavy. You should have your dollar-based accounts. If you use this pre-prep, before then, you should have traveled abroad. You should have had international accounts. You should have had multi-currency international accounts set up during the time that you could travel. Now is the times where you can't. I still see a falling wedge on the CAD. I think you're at your third low. I think you're very close to a final low. I don't think the dollar is going to be quite as weak as it was against the others this week, but it may be. We'll see. I'll wait for it to open trading. But I also think the metals will be a little firmer. So you could have a little bit firmer metals on a little bit firmer dollar. You know, you've got to respect that against the CAD, you hit 1.4, all the sixes, 1466666 at the high. That was on 19th of March. You hit a low of 1.39211. So it's quite an adjustment in pips. You know, that's a lot of pips. That's 700 pips. So it shed quite a bit. And it had made our second interim. If you learn about our method, you know why we have these interims and how much it tells you. Take some money off, get a bit lighter, and wait to buy some more on the pullback. And that's what we did. Its second interim was made. So now we have lots of alerts, and we're waiting to see. And I think you could be in a bit of luck that the bleed out might be close to the end, and you want to buy long on any sign of return of dollar strength. That's it, guys. I've had a shot at answering a handful of questions. For those I didn't get around to answer, sorry, I hope to get you next time. Thank you for all of you. Go enjoy your Sunday evening. Watch out for that opening in the East. We'll see what's going, and you can wish me a happy birthday. Do one share if you would like to say happy birthday right now. Share it to your best mate. Say, hey, it's the man with the economic hairstyle and the complexion for radio birthday today, and he's telling us all what's going down, and that there might be better week for precious metals ahead, and a slightly firmer week for the dollar, but it may only be in the second half of the week. Who knows? We'll see how it opens in the other markets. Don't forget to keep a watching remit on USD Korean won, which I've told you about, and we're still expecting the yen to firm up as well against the euro and the dollar. So yen could be strong. It finished the week strong. Bye for now. Currencies are the game. Currencies are the game. Precious metals are the game. That's my word of advice. We traded the oil bit. We've traded the oil shorts. I'm out of them all. And actually, I have a concern about oil, as I've already mentioned. Watch the video again if you remember. So all the idiots coming out now want to be the guy that calls single-digit oil. When we said possibility of at a much higher percentage, we might start moving to the other side of the boat on that one. That doesn't mean it won't open down. Just be cautious out there. It won't necessarily make 21, but it could. We have called a possible target on it, but I'm walking back a little bit on the structure of the pattern. We'll see. We'll see. I'm moderate on it. I'm not trading. I've taken all the goodies that we got out of it. Okay, bye-bye. Bye for now.